super excited. I'm actually nervous about this episode. It's the audio's all test and stuff. We're just jumping right in.
All right.
I'm nervous about this episode because I think that intellectually, like physics, science, the social structures, they're very interesting, but I was a terrible student. I did not learn a lot in middle school and high school. Like elementary school, I was great. And I think that because I did so well, I was like, oh, I'm so smart. And I got that pride in my intelligence. And I had enough common sense to like get me through the day. But I was a terrible student and barely learned anything.
Gifted kid burnout. Gifted kid burnout right there.
So this is one of the most excited segments I am, though, because I think that the conversations are there. Like they're so interesting whenever we do get into our deep dives and stuff. So
we have quite a lot to work with, essentially.
Yeah.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, sweet. Well, I've been trying to brainstorm yesterday, and of course, like all week, about what exactly I wanted to talk about, what might be most like applicable to our lives, and like what would be easily understandable to a viewer and equally interesting. Starting to realize that not very much like is applicable and interesting. Like I could talk about brain organoids and like the future of AI for an hour. Like we put essentially computer chips linked with like genetic material, like blobs of brain, essentially. It increases computing power. It'll probably be the next step in a lot of our PCs. We call it wetware. Anything biological and mechanical is wetware. That was probably what I was leaning towards. But then, of course, you have the interesting aspect of a conversation. Something more interesting would be... Well, I'm so sorry.
Oh, good.
Something interesting would be talking about, like, black holes and white holes.
I think that all of it was interesting. Like, I mean, as far as that... Because that's...
Because I'm trying to think from a viewer's perspective.
Well, no, the viewer's perspective is based off of what we want to create. Like, I am interested in the nitty-gritty details. Like, any new scientific discoveries, like, looking at the data sheets, like, going into, like, real... Like, this is not, like, a flippant conversation of whatever. Like, you know, I want to make sure that we have a firm understanding of each other's base of science. So, for example, like, which, quantum theories... do we believe in fully? Like, what level are we at there? Because there are certainly different ones, and different hypotheses basically shape the universe itself. So, like, going grand scheme there, like, whichever worldview we currently have, like, that's going to shape these conversations. But no, that's the topic. Yeah, no. I'm not worried at all about, because the thing is that if you don't find this stuff interesting, just don't listen.
Click off. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm not reaching out to any significant like target market or any base like that. Like, no. This is a cool conversation about deep science stuff that, like, dude, I don't have time to really research a lot of stuff. Like, I don't look at world news or tech news and things like that. So for someone who's like me, who considers themselves semi-intellectual, but very consumed in the business side, or, you know, other people have gaming.
Don't have enough time to...
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of information out there. So no, that is the interesting stuff, you know?
All right.
Yeah, man, go for it, dude. Whatever thoughts you were going with, just shoot.
Well, I definitely did want to talk about something I've been really thinking about recently is biology and genetics, specifically. Like, where we get our desires from, where we get our fears from, how certain parts of you, are they nature or are they nurture, and which parts are which. That's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, mainly because of, like, I realized stuff like alcoholism, right? Very hereditary. Like, it can very much pass down genetically. And I did a little bit of research into it, and basically came to the consensus that, so we have a couple organs in our brain that are really important, right? We have, like, the pineal gland, the hippocampus, but specifically I want to focus on the hippocampus. The hippocampus is your brain's memory center, essentially. I'm sure you've heard. It's 100% responsible for collecting, organizing, and deleting whatever memories need be at that time. Trauma can mess up your hippocampus. It can calcify your pineal gland. If you don't use either organ, you'll lose them. Not really, but like it gets weaker. And I came to the consensus that this hippocampus that we all have it's like a memory bank, and it passes through generations. Like that's not even far-fetched. That's how our brains work. So what I mean by that is like, let's take arachnophobia as an example, because that's relatable. That's easy to understand. Some people have arachnophobia, some people don't. Some people gain it throughout their lives based on events and experiences that would make them be afraid of arachnids. Whereas other people, arachnophobia can be completely nature. If your parents or your parents' parents or your parents' parents' parents, if they were intensely afraid of spiders, there is a large possibility that fear is getting placed upon you as well. You won't quite understand it, but when you're a kid and the first time you see a spider, there'll be a sense of dread and uneasiness that you don't quite understand, but you know you need to get away from this thing. Memories are very interesting. Humans are essentially a culmination of each other. Like, all of our being is whatever our predecessors' beings were, but an amalgamation of that. So we are our own unique individuals, but we take a lot from our predecessors, especially fears and pleasures. And that's what that's one of the things I wanted to bring up and talk about, because I think that one's very applicable and very interesting. It could explain a lot of people's desires sexually or fearfully or anything, really. Like, all of our desires, most of our desires and most of our fears come from our predecessors' experiences and how we react to those. So that's our hippocampus. Our hippocampus does all of that. That's all in one. And then pineal gland is emotional spectrum. Like, you could link it to your intellectualism. You could link it to your soul. Like, it's something that helps you organize thoughts, emotions, and regulate them. And what I was talking about earlier is the calcification. When you don't use your pineal gland or it's misused throughout your life, it goes dormant. Like, it builds sediment. Like, the bad food you eat will coat it. The less you use it, the less it shakes off that coating. And now you just kind of have a rock in your head, essentially. It doesn't really work too well. And that's a lot of psychopathy is from that. Like, not just that, but that's one of the supporting factors. Psychopathy usually comes from, like, being raised poorly, or Jeffrey Dahmer, for example. He got into killing, and, I don't want to be too graphic, but he got into killing and messing with other men because of how he was raised, his nurture. His father was a taxidermist and constantly brought Dahmer around road to road, picking up roadkill. They would slice it open. They would talk about the veins. They talk about anything inside. His father was very, emotionless. Like, he had been doing a job like this forever. And it is it's like a funeral home where if you really want to be there for the rest of your life, you're going to have to turn off a couple emotions, or you're going to have to stop caring about a couple of things. Dahmer was a kid, though, and he didn't grow up 45 years in a taxidermy office. He just grew up for 10 years with his father showing him dead animals and how to drill into each one and, like, how to remove fluids the best. So he used that, and when he went through puberty and, started thinking sexually, because he was in that life and his father was bringing him up, those two melded together, and that's how we have Jeffrey Dahmer. Like a little bit of nature, a little bit of nurture, but genetics I've been really thinking about recently, because I think that's also the next step. Like, most of what I've been talking about now has been previous understandings or things from before our time make us what we are. But the next step after what we are is also genetics. Like, I think we've talked about CRISPR a little bit. And I don't think most people don't agree. Like, most people, like, everyone has their own idea of genetic modification.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to touch base with you and ask you again, because I kind of forgot what your stance was on modifying like an embryo or maybe livestock as an example as well. Because we could start with livestock if that's better.
I think humans, from the anthropological perspective, have always been mutating the world around us.
True.
Like, at the end of the day,
we have.
All of our fruits and vegetables, everything has been
genetically modified.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think it's the same exact thing that's been happening. Originally, I believe it was more of a hormone changes that we were looking for towards our livestock.
Or we used selective breeding, like if there was a giant bull.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, giant bull and a giant, I forget what female cow is. If you two giant ones will make a better breeding pair than two small ones, right?
Yeah.
That is essentially selective breeding. You do that for 10 generations.
Absolutely.
And chances are that kid is going to be a fucking massive cow.
And that, I mean, as far as the genetic breeding and how we change animals, probably one of the easiest ways to view dogs.
True.
Looking at
how wolves have.
Absolutely. Like, that's such a crazy, dramatic change. And that's
only
because of us.
Years.
Yeah. Like, it's because of us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
also, sorry, not to cut you off, but the reason that dogs are such a great example of genetic modification is because, fun fact, humans and dogs almost share the exact same social hierarchy to a T. Cats are independent. They usually stay in small families. Dogs are not so. They are pack animals. And there's been misconceptions and rewriting and revisioning of the idea of alpha, beta, and sigmas in like animals. That is a thing, but it's not as what's the word? Not as in your face with dogs. Like,
it's a hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
Like, all nature, from humans to animals, follow a hierarchy.
Yep.
So following that logic, the alpha, beta, like, that is just one form of hierarchy, but for sure.
And it does exist to a degree. A lot of people, like, for a while, we thought there was an alpha always, and there was a runt or a beta. And then scientists started agreeing on, actually, there is no alpha betas in a wolf pack at all. Like, they're all equal, and we know that's not true.
Yeah,
it's somewhere in between. And I'm sure with desperation and extremities, like, if you're fighting every day to survive and you go 14 days without a meal, and the world calls for desperation and the world calls for, like, trying to survive, alpha and beta ideologies / archetypes will always arise. But when we live in a time like this, and in the past, like 24,000, 25,000 years, where livestock or plants and flora and fauna are incredibly abundant. We're out of an ice age. We just got out of one. Like, the last epoch was an ice age. So we just got out of it, and we have abundance of flora and fauna. So you kind of see alpha and betas die off a little bit, or at least...
I actually disagree. As far as seeing the alphas and betas die off a little bit, I think that it's still a hierarchy. It doesn't change. It's just that the metrics of success are different based off the individual's perspective. So, for example, if finances, if that is the metric of success, then you still have a hierarchy of alphas and betas. It's based off your money. Same for attraction, like physical, So I think
I was talking more so, like, in nature with wolves specifically, like when there's less to do and less to worry about, when you can get a meal every 2 to 3 days instead of every 14, those archetypes that usually would spring into leadership, or those archetypes that would tuck their tail underneath and give their food to their alpha, they don't stop, but they slow down because of abundance. Like the beta doesn't have to put his tail underneath his under his ass and give his meal to alpha. Alpha has more, beta has more in this specific instance. But you're very right. You're very right.
Well, no, that's super interesting. I misunderstood because I thought that I knew that the reference was in regard to wolves, but I did think that there was a transition.
I was probably going to segue it,
but as far as the wolf side, I think that's really interesting. And like for that to be the case, they kind of just mellow out, which really I feel like is also true with humans. Like as you mature and get older, you kind of mellow out, or at least you
get complacent, or
you like solidify who you are as a person.
Oh, I see.
You know, like if you are like an ambitious person who pushes forward, or if you relax and like that's cruising through life, you know? But it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right.
As far as going back to your original question, when it comes to genetic modifications, it's something we've always done. As far as doing it to newborn like babies, I think that there's already a lot of like in vitro and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of health benefits. I do also agree though, so it's not necessarily a contradiction, that it is playing as God. So within the confines of this universe, changing something genetically is an act of God, essentially. Obviously, that's not in a religious viewpoint, more as a physical action change to something.
Right.
But I am nervous about it because I know that, like you said, as far as evolution, there's safe ways to do things and then extreme ways to do things. I think based off of humanity's history, we always go extreme.
You are very right.
And then start to put brakes on it.
There's a tale as old as time. You've heard this a million times. Scientists ask themselves so many times, can we do this? Can we do this? They never once stopped to ask, should we do this? Tale as old as time. It highlights humans' impulsiveness to do extreme things. There's been a lot of speculation. Like, I thought I turned off my ringer. I'm so sorry. Anthony is spamming me. Wow, that distracted me. What was I just on?
We were talking about the bioengineering, and then humans have a tendency to push too far.
Impulsiveness and extremes. Yes. Okay. So, pretty much all throughout human history, we've always made a mistake, and then a lot of our best inventions were found by accident. Our best meals were made by accident.
Yeah.
Our greatest problems were made by accident. Like, we always... I
feel like there's I 100% agree with you. No. I know all of it. I 100% agree with you.
Hiroshima. That definitely wasn't an accident.
Yeah. No, but the discovery led up to it.
It was.
That's the thing, is that I agree with you, but I think that a lot of those situations had an underlying action that was repetition. Like intent. Yeah, exactly. Like there was an intent to do something, right? Like it wasn't just a random discovery. They were in a lab, they were studying. It just...
Yeah, it wasn't like, oops, there's a nuclear bomb now.
Exactly. And a lot of them were like that. You know, like you only messed up bread and made a pretzel because that was...
Exactly. It's more
you were in the kitchen, right?
It's more so like, I'm trying to figure out fusion. Oh, we made a weapon.
Exactly. And I think that's... Very right. That's how a lot of historical... Really, a lot of our big movements in evolution. I find that really interesting. Another thing that, sorry if you don't want to change the topic, I'm really interested in looking at humanity as Homo sapiens have only been around for 12,000 years. That's the thing, is that there is changes in history. Yeah. So like there may have been like more ancient civilizations, but anthropologically, like looking at the Homo sapien genus and then looking at like the Neanderthals and some of the other
Homo
ancient
habilis,
humans,
yeah,
exactly,
all of them.
like they died out, and from there we then formed. You know, whether
we also know now that more than likely how biological competition works in similar species groups is that usually, let's say for example, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, right? We walked on the same planet at the same time together, and then you have Homo sapiens, but that's a different can of worms. But they walked on the same planet at the same time. Neanderthals did breed with Homo sapiens. That's why we have Neanderthal percentage, and some lineages have greater amounts. The thing is that how we kill out other species is almost never a war or like fighting or stuff like that. You know this. It's mostly competition of food and breeding rights. Like when Homo sapiens probably were better breeders. They probably had, let's say, you know, I don't know what early humans pleasure-seeking archetypes were, but I'm going to assume that like the less hair somebody had was viewed better sexually. Like slimmer bodies were probably viewed better sexually. Essentially, Homo sapiens probably, because we don't know.
Yeah, let's say that's
like this is all speculation. It's like knowledgeable speculation. Like we don't know, but we have a lot of good ideas. We probably outcompeted them in food and sex and pretty much every archetype you could. Like we were not saying we were the better version, because Neanderthals had a lot going for them genetically and physiologically. But we definitely probably outcompeted them.
I think yeah, like going towards that, I think that one of the reasons that Homo sapiens won, looking at like the timeline long term, is also because we're more social. The other ones, they weren't social, and so when we
isolated and aggressive,
exactly, and so then when the ancient humans, the Homo sapiens, traveled from Africa going to Asia and different countries, like that ended up just naturally evolving as a culture that groups together.
True.
So that's where civilization forms. The Sumerians and the ancient Egyptians, like that is the next group that truly actually creates a long-term dynasty. Like that's where the empire first kind of starts.
True.
Empire as the definition of the term.
Right,
like an empire.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, like that's anyway, but the thing that I'm so interested about is those Homo sapiens and us today are no different. True. Like genetically, we actually haven't changed very much. The only difference is
minor mutations. Like we've had changes in our genome, but not
like
that
lactose
much.
And things like that.
Exactly.
For sure.
Some things to do with the brain and organ. Like there's a lot of evidence supporting that because of our sedentary lifestyle or close to it, over the past couple thousand years, mainly in the past couple hundred, our physiology has changed a little bit. Like we are fatter on average, and by fatter I mean percent body mass. Like we're not like kings and queens, but we are definitely more prone to having larger fat reserves.
I think that at the DNA section, though, like as far as when you look at Homo sapiens from the past to now, I think as a whole, we truly haven't changed that much. Like there are certainly changes, and evolution is always going to have significant changes, but like none of us have grown gills. None of us have grown like, I mean, webbed feet is kind of a thing. And we've
gained, so like, you're right about that. Those kinds of changes, like flying, webbed feet, evolution takes millions of years. Like, especially when we're talking about rewriting the structure or the layout of an individual. Essentially, our bodies they already have a roadmap. Like your genetic code, 160 billion lines or whatever it is, There's a thing called spaghetti code in genetics. It's when there's just too much bull crap. It's also in video games. They use it. Humans, the reason we're so damn good and the reason we're pretty consistent, like, I don't know if you know, but polar bears came from grizzly bears in right off of polar and Arctic areas. There's always forests and shit. Grizzlies once gave birth. We're going to act like this was just one event that made it all, but evolution is actually hundreds of events. One survives, 99 die, right? Like, so we're going to act like this just happened once, but grizzly bears popped out a polar bear, not a polar bear at the time, but they popped out a grizzly bear with white fur or translucent skin. And that translucent skin and white fur helped them survive, adapt, and hunt in the Arctic area. And because none of the other grizzlies were capable of spending a long amount of time there and hunting there, they got free food reign. So that is an evolutionary win. Boom. That's the start of polar bears. That kind of change takes a lot of time and a lot of chance. When you have a species like us, where our genetic code is not really spaghetti coded, like it's pretty solid, which means that our body roadmap is going to be pretty consistent. Like, we're not going to have insanely large groups of mutational problems. We stay pretty consistent. But again, evolution takes like a very long time because of chance. Like, we could grow wings in 3 generations. The chance of that happening is so goddamn low. Like, it is infinitesimally low. Like, I don't even think I could put a number to it. Now, there's also a chance that after 10,000 generations we get wings, but it's still very, very low. Because evolution's idea is what helps right here? What helps us live? What helps us get food? Like, it doesn't think. The concept of evolution doesn't think. It's more like process of elimination. Like, for example, mother has 2 kids. One kid can break down leaves better in his stomach than his brother, and his brother can break down meat a little better. Whoever has more food or has more success with their physiology, also given their environment, like, is there a lot of plants in the area? Is there a lot of meat in the area? Is there not of one? Like, evolution is just process of elimination. It's blind. Evolution is blind. It doesn't have a roadmap. There is no end to evolution. It's a constant adaptation. It's a constant adaptation to the world around you. As the world changes, so do you.
I really like saying evolution is blind. I think that's a really nice way to put it. I think that evolution is blind in itself, and I think intelligence is something that makes us uniquely interested in affecting evolution ourselves.
True, yeah, because, even if we look at mechanically intelligent creatures, like, so we're socially intelligent, right? Of course, we've talked about this. A lot of mammals lean towards social intelligence just by chance, and it's mainly because we don't spawn eggs. We don't have skinned eggs. We have born mammals. Like, I forget what it's called in biology when you give birth to a live birth. I can't remember exactly what it is, but essentially there's no shell, there's no egg. Like, the baby comes out of you, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to break out of anything. A lot of mammals are like that. Not all of them, because you have shit like platypus or platypi. They have eggs. They're also venomous, and they also can sense electromagnetic pulses like sharks can through their bills, which is very interesting. Yeah, it's nuts. But they spawn eggs. But since we have live births, we tend to lean towards social intelligence. But then if you take a look at something like octopi, for example, who are equally as mechanically intelligent as we are socially. Like they are not socially intelligent, or not nearly as much as we are, because they haven't found it necessary. Like their evolutionary path hasn't deemed it necessary. They could, if you put, I've used this example at work a million times, but if you put an octopi and a human adult in a room, both adults, both peak, both prime, and two of the same, or at least similar food puzzles, like there's food behind a puzzle, you gotta get it out if you want to eat. And the octopi will blitz the human 100 times before the human gets in it once. Like, that's mechanically intelligent. Being able to understand the world around you and use it to your advantage. That comes with tool making. Like, we are also mechanically intelligent, but that's not what we lean towards, right? Like, we lean towards social intelligence, like the grandmother effect we're speaking right now. Like, social intelligence creates a language. It creates community. It creates homes. It creates clothes. Like, social intelligence is the reason that we ever made a market to begin with. Like, barter and trade, having the idea that something is worth another thing, or something might be worth more than another thing. That's social intelligence. Mechanical intelligence would be like, I see food right there, I'm stealing it. Like, they don't give a shit. There's not going to be, if octopi were in our same spots, there wouldn't be organized society. There might be communities of hunter and gatherers, essentially, but mechanically intelligent individuals don't pass down information. They don't get into groups. They don't, pretty much. They don't even like having sex. Like, octopi usually get really stressed and almost scared when they procreate, and they often die right after. Because it is really stressful for them. They don't really like doing it, which is pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Manny, would you want to take a 2-minute break real quick?
Sure.
How does it work? Okay, we're back. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm gonna swap up the topic real quick. We're talking about tianeptine. It's an antidepressant. He asked me what I was holding in my hand. So tianeptine is not FDA approved. Drinking too much Dr. Pepper. It's used pretty much across the world. In the UK, it's very popular. The FDA doesn't like it because it's very useful. Like, I'm not even joking.
That's so funny.
It's so useful. Like, there's not many antidepressants that make you feel, because it doesn't just make you feel good, right? Like, it's not like weed where if you smoke it, you're in an altered state, right? Like, you're, either slower or happier or whatever your effect on weed is. You're not in an altered state.
Okay.
It opens your dopamine receptors. So if you struggle with connecting dopamine to events or actions, like, for example, like a hobby like baseball, if you played baseball your entire life and hitting a ball perfectly makes you really happy, sometimes over like 10 years, you can lose that connection, that dopamine connection. And people will be very confused when they're older, when they're like, I don't know why, I just don't like my hobby anymore. I've been doing it for a decade and a half. I don't know why. It's a saturated dopamine response.
Yeah.
Something like this basically opens it up again and allows you to connect dopamine to an action that could be profitable. But also, probably the reason it's not FDA approved is because it can open your dopamine response to things that probably aren't profitable if you're not very aware of your usage or how you use it. What I mean by that is, like, let's say, for example, SSRIs, right? That's the style of antidepressants we use in America, mostly. SSRIs kind of suck, and we did that on purpose. So a big problem with therapy and psychiatry over the past 30 to 40 years, and I'm sure you know this, is that there's a lot of money in it. When penicillin came out, the creator was like, I don't want this to ever cost a dime. I'm not going to patent it. You know what somebody else did as soon as he died? They just took it, and now it's a lot of money. Like, there's a lot of money in medicine, and there's more money in getting somebody back to your home, or I'm sorry, to your place of work. Like, if you're a psychiatrist, you will get paid money or get bonuses / write-offs from the government if you have a certain amount of ADHD diagnosis is. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plural of that or past tense of that is. But, no, plural, yeah. So, you have a certain amount of ADHD diagnostics, maybe? Damn, I'm going to get stuck on that word. You get a write-off from the government, and they really incentivize you to push that because something like ADHD or an attention deficit or depression is reoccurring. You get it back again. Like, it doesn't stop. It's essentially chronic. It stays with you your whole life. And there's more money in a return customer than a one-time customer. So a lot of what we do in America is 100% trying to get them. I don't know if you've heard the saying, we make them sick so we can sell the cure. That's very applicable in psychiatry and in medicine in general. Like, a lot of insurance companies really profit off of selling you an SSRI that actually makes you more sad and more psychotic, technically. They want you back. They want you to keep filling up your prescription. They want you to maybe try new stuff. Like, SSRIs, they work over a long period of time. You take them for a while before it starts working, and then it shuts off a lot of crap. Like, for example, I don't know if you've ever been on SSRIs, but there's something that's called brain fog that comes with, like, excessive weed usage. Sometimes when people stop, they have brain fog for like a month, and they're like, wow, I can't even focus. Like, what's going on? I can't see the future at all. Like, I'm not happy. Brain fog also very much comes from SSRIs. It can make you dissociative, not really care about the world around you. It can make you very selfish. Tianeptine is a very fast-acting, and it's also something called an opiate antagonist, which means that it's not an opiate, but it tickles your opiate receptor. So there's no like pain killing aspect, or there's not really, you really can't feel anything. It's all in the background, but it essentially makes you more confident. Like, that opiate receptor, it's kind of like having a shot, you know, like one shot, like you're looser, you're more open, but you don't really feel too much. Like, it's essentially the same way. Like, if I took 10 of these, I wouldn't be off the walls happy. It would just make you tired. Like, you would just get drowsy like Dramamine. That's why I really recommend it, because with stuff like weed, you can smoke too much. Like, you can, if you smoke too much, you might get like an insanely bad stomach ache. Your head might hurt. You might, like, you know, sometimes you start to get like, whoa, I forget what that word is, but like
vertigo.
What, vertigo? Yeah, essentially, where it's like loss of balance, sickness. You can smoke too much, but stuff like tianeptine, you really can't do too much. Your body's not stupid. Like, even if you got up to that 10 mark, like if you somehow were able to shovel down 10, just like with weed, you'd probably throw it up. Like, or shrooms, if you ever, well, that's a bad example. Those are psychedelics.
Yeah.
Psychedelics are in a crazy case of worms. They are quite.
But it's an interesting. Is it considered a medication or is it considered like a nutritional supplement?
Oh, like a dietary supplement,
exactly?
Or like proprietary blend. It's medicinal. It's medicinal.
Okay, so it is considered like a medicine. Gotcha.
Yeah. But that is a problem with a lot of America's medicines and like, especially when you go to a gas station.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen like proprietary blends or like, I forget what the first one you just said was, but like some kind of blend, right? Or like, it'll be like, this has not been reviewed by the FDA. This is just a proprietary blend.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that is exactly what we were just talking about. Like, they're highly addictive. They don't do too much for you other than make you want to come back. Kratom is a great example of that. Like, Kratom itself can be used for a lot of things.
And sorry, when you say Kratom, I know Kratom is a company and they sell CBD products as well as, I believe, full like marijuana products. Are you talking about the company itself or a specific?
I'm talking about the leaves essentially. So there's a tree called the Kratom tree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a business named Kratom. I'm not gonna lie. I know that CBD Kratom, like the smoke shop down the street. But no, I was talking about. So there's like a palm tree, essentially, and it's called Kratom or Kraton or like it's some fancy word, but it's English shortening is Kratom.
Okay.
And there's Kratom leaves. You dehydrate those, grind them up, and now you have a powder of the Kratom leaves. And that powder is what a lot of people call Kratom. Sometimes it's put into liquid and mixed with like water or oil. Sometimes it's put into pills, capsules.
Is it a marijuana? Is like what? Or is it like a completely different species? Like I don't.
It's kind of like, it's. Is that a doggy?
Yeah.
Hi, sweetie. It's kind of like.
Thanks. Off.
It's kind of like alcohol, where it makes you very open. It makes you very. Hey, sweetie, you are just adorable. It makes you very. It's also a painkiller. That's the most in your face aspect of Kratom.
Okay.
Is that it's a very, very heavy painkiller. You will disassociate very easily. You'll get tired very easily. And it's very, very addictive. A lot of doctors used to recommend like 5-10 years ago that if you were going to, do anything recreationally and you were trying to get off of stuff like heroin or crack, stuff like that, you should use Suboxone or Kratom.
Oh.
And I used to work at a smoke shop, so I don't just have the anecdotal part. I have, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. I also have that very in-depth mindset, viewpoint. Bye, puppy. Bye, doggy. Basically, I saw it didn't help. Like people that were on coke, people that were on heroin, people that were on crack, and they moved to Kratom, it never helped. People trade addictions for other ones 9 times out of 10. Like when people are trying to quit something, they usually find something else to fill it.
Yeah.
And Kratom is always, or most of the time, always there. I saw it so much. People would fill up, they'd buy 8 ounces of Kratom dust.
Is that a lot? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a decent amount. It's like a bag about that big.
Okay.
And this is the dust, so it's essentially you can imagine it as the pressed or the most, I wouldn't want to say strongest, but it's probably the most pure version is the powder you get from the tree. It's not worth it. And 9 times out of 10, the people that make it or the products that are made are like the proprietary blend ones, where it's like it'll be in a vial, and kratom will not be the only ingredient.
Yeah,
there will be other stimulants, other depressants. Like they're usually concoctions of, like they're really bad. I used to really enjoy kratom. Like when I worked on base, I would get, there's a brand called Feel Free, and they make tonics. And this was when I was banned from High Life, so I couldn't go back because I just got done working there. And then 2 months later, they were like, "Dude, you're not banned, bro. Come back." And I was like, "Okay." But when I was working on base, I would love those kratom drinks, dude. But after about 2 or 3 months of taking them, it started to get to the point where my body genuinely rejected it. Like, I'm not even joking. I've never experienced something as crazy as my body's response to kratom nowadays. Like for example, I think a month ago or 2 months ago, when I went to Branson, I can't remember when. I think it was like a month and a half ago or months. I can't remember. I just started working at Domino's, I think. So, but when I went to Branson, I had brought, because I was like, it was like the end of a pay period, or like I just didn't have any money. So I went to go get a kratom vial and bring it. Or I got like 2, and I brought it to Branson with me. And I hadn't had kratom in like 3 or 4 months. And I was already, hesitant about taking it because I was going to say my body's reaction to kratom now is a disgusting one. Like if I smell it, if I taste it, immediately throw up. Like if I was able to swallow it, my head would hurt so much. My body would I would start shivering. I get cold sweats. Yeah, I don't.
That's really interesting,
dude. When it's association,
yeah,
like your brain, food. When you get in the wild, you kill an animal, you eat it, boom, great dopamine response because you were able to get a meal successfully with no damage. Association, meat to happy.
Yeah,
eat meat, you get happy. Kratom was one of those where it's like there is no dopamine at all. It is just depressant. It's like it is. I'm not even joking. It's like
what's the desired effect? Like, what is it that people return to it for? Not like
honestly,
yeah,
mostly just flat out physical addiction. I'm not even joking.
Well, okay, but like, what is the original desired effect?
Pain killing and depressant. Like,
okay,
so it's supposed to make you like disassociate. It's supposed to, like if you accidentally got a cut somewhere on your hand, you wouldn't even feel it until you saw
Interesting.
it. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You gain a tolerance to kratom very fast, though. So it's not even like weed where like if you smoke 7 days a week, 24/7, you're still going to get high.
Yeah.
Kratom, unfortunately, and I don't know exactly why. I think it's honestly because of how it's structured chemically and physically. I'll get to it in a second. It's pretty gross. You gain a tolerance to it very fast. And you can take half of a vial yesterday, have a great 2 hours, and then the next day take, 24 hours later, take half a vial and get almost none of the effect. And now you're just sitting there upset. And generally people in those instances, almost 9 times out of 10, they take more, and that's where addiction starts, is like chasing an effect or
for
chasing
sure
a dragon.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why kratom is so dangerous. It's like, it's very easily tolerable to the body, and it is not that good. It's like, it can make 2 hours go by in an instant, but you didn't have any fun in those hours. You didn't enjoy yourself. Your stomach actually hurt the entire time, and you were nervous about the fact that you even took it in the first place. Like, I used to see it firsthand and also got into it afterwards. Like, when I worked at High Life, I'm not even joking, the cokeheads and the guys that smoked crack out of our pipes, they had more security and more interest in their substance than an average kratom user. Like, most of the kratom users were upset that they were even there to get kratom. Like, yeah, they'd bring their own jar, and they would be openly upset about wanting more. Like,
oh, that's interesting.
Like, they really wanted to quit it.
Oh,
and that's why, you know, doctors really, a lot of the time, not all the time, but doctors get a lot from getting people sick and selling a cure. Yeah. Like, they get a lot. And so recommending kratom to people getting off of Suboxone, which is already something you use to get off of other things, is crazy. But it was just really sad to see, like, firsthand. Like, again, even the crackheads they enjoyed doing their crack. You know, they were like, yes, we got a pipe, dude. Like, you know, I'm going to totally act like this is not for crack. Can you wrap it up in bubble wrap, please?
That's hilarious.
And they go outside and they're giggling and, like, they're having a great time. Then the kratom guy comes in and he's, like, crying a little bit. And he's like, just 3 ounces, please, man. And I'm like, oh, my God.
That's hilarious.
It was bad, man. It was real bad. I will say I miss the sitcom-y feeling of High Life. I learned so much about botany and chemistry and people in general, like people's hierarchy of needs, what they go for recreationally. Like, yeah. I learned a lot. But
as far as the social learning that you did, I just want to remember that is one population group. So don't let that one population. Correct.
That would be called.
There's lots of other stuff.
Yeah, that would be called anecdotal. Yeah.
Oh man, but that's cool. I totally separate subject. I just wanted to talk to you about real fast.
Sure.
You used to do acting and stuff like that, and I had honestly not forgotten. Just it was information that I didn't like use ever for a very long time. I went to acting classes when I was younger. I did John Robert Powers is like an acting class that was down in Florida, or they were like a school, and they have like contracts with Disney and stuff like that to get like kids over. But I did that for I think a year, and I enjoyed the actions of doing it. Like, it was fun, but it was never a passion for me to like dive into.
Okay.
Like, I never viewed it as a job. Like, it was just a hobby kind of thing.
I gotcha. I understand that. That was where I was for a long time until I hit about like 12 or 13 or so. And then I really locked in and I was like, all right, let's treat it like a job. Let's, take it serious. But I was the same way I started when I was 6 and stopped at around like 16, 17. My last job was for Bayer Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite job ever too. It was short. It was 1 day, 12 hours. All we were doing was taking photos for Bayer's like a pharmaceutical company. And they're also an agricultural company. So they own a lot of farms because, medicine and agriculture hand in hand, like 99% of the ingredients of any given medicine is going to be something from a farm.
Mm-hmm.
So they go hand in hand. But it was really fun. I spent 12 hours taking photos to get our pictures on like the ad banners, like where it'll be like, you and your family can live a happy life, and it's me and 2 other guys like in some overalls. You guys couldn't see it, but I smiled and went.
Nice. That's cool, man. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I feel like honestly, it's just a different track in life. Like viewing entertainment as a business is a belief system, and I think different people have different beliefs there. But I just find it really interesting. Like, as far as, theater and doing stuff like that, it's just totally different. Like, I can't view myself in those roles,
Yeah. No, I understand that. That's like, I honestly, that's about what made me stop. Is like, I couldn't see myself. Like, I don't know if it was because I was losing confidence or something, or it was also probably because I went on like a year-long break and like I had just started smoking. I was like 16 years old, kind of on and off. So my priorities were flipped on its head. Like,
yeah.
And I, after not having done a job in a year, I couldn't imagine myself doing a monologue in front of 5,000 people. Like I couldn't,
Interesting, yeah.
and 5 judges. Like I couldn't imagine myself. But when I was 9, 8, 10, every year we would go to a hotel called Sheraton Hotel in California. We would straight up go to Hollywood, Los Angeles. I would do a monologue in a giant amphitheater in front of thousands of people with like 5 judges. And as soon as I'm done with my monologue, the 150 kids that are behind stage waiting in a line to do their monologue comes up. Like, I was very easily able to do it back then. Like,
yeah.
Of course I was still nervous, but if you asked me to do something like that now, I would need to be like blackout drunk or possessed.
Yeah, our shame receptors, if you want to view like that, is really interesting because it really,
like shame.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you
like people don't understand what ego is. Like the idea of ego is you having any care at all about what other people think, whatever it may be. If you are at work and you don't say bad words because it'll look bad or you'll get in trouble, that's a part of your ego. Like an ego is something that constrains us to each other. It's a social maneuver, essentially. Those with an ego have the ability to, what's the word? Kind of conform. Like ego is conformity almost.
The way that I view ego, and we might be talking about, because how one word has multiple meanings.
Yeah, semantics. Yeah.
The way that I view ego is an ego is a sense of self. So to me, at its core, that is what the ego is. It is an actual kind of being. Like it is our sense of self, our pride, our fears, all of our internal dialogue. It's fueled by our ego. It's like
I
how
think both are true. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not, I don't think that,
they're not like, or they're, yeah.
I think it's just a fuller developed explanation of what an ego is. Because it's everything that you are, like, because your fears and all that, like, it's all included. And even your own personal ambitions and stuff. So I guess that's one of the big separations. It's not just the external connection, it's the internal, like, belief structure.
I wonder, because I've never not had an ego. Like, I'm sure you've heard of the idea of ego death, or like, and usually it's attached to drugs or psychedelics, or there's near-death experiences also can wipe ego right off of you. Like, they can get rid of all ambition, get rid of all thoughts of others, get rid of, like, near-death experiences can make you damn near feel like God. Like, NDEs are crazy. They are just as powerful as taking psychedelics. Like, when you almost drown, especially, those are one of the best ways to get a true near-death experience, because drowning takes a while. Your body has time to realize, oh shit, we're probably going to die.
Yeah.
And you toil and toil and toil. And we humans are capable of something called plank time. We've talked about it a little bit. For those that don't know, it's the ability to perceive thousands of seconds in 1 second. Like, or relatively.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing you've heard when people take a bunch of salvia and they wake up and they're like, I just lived 85 years. Or they just took a hit of DMT and they're like, I just had a wife and kids. Like, they genuinely did. Like, it probably did feel like years to them. Humans are very capable of feeling plank time.
Yeah, in everyday life, honestly, one of the easiest ways to look is when you do a plank.
Yeah,
like when you're doing a plank.
How long does that minute feel?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's all it is. That's the interesting thing about relativity and time.
It's like all perceptional. Like it's pretty interesting. That exact idea is what actually made me lean towards the idea that the universe needs perceivers or observers. Like, maybe it doesn't, but I think it's kind of crazy that we are here to observe. And I think specifically, like, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound if no one's around to hear it? Most people would say, duh, law.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie, dude. I don't think it does.
Okay, so you believe... Oh, I mean, that's fine. I mean, there is certainly an idea in the belief system that... I can't remember who it was. It was a psychologist, and his theory was basically, if you don't look at something, it doesn't exist. Like, whenever he turns around, everything behind him no longer exists.
Observer is required.
Yeah, in my opinion, that is a... What's the right way to view it? It's a not the self-fulfilling prophecy, but like it's something that your ego is so large that like you believe that everything has to be watched, but there are things in the background. I think that's just one view there.
It's also one of those things where it's like, you can't disprove a statement like that.
Yeah.
Like, so people, again, like you just said, it's a very egotistical thing. I think most of the people that have that ideology and actually heavily believe it, like, I do believe that an observer and the universe and reality probably have some more things that we don't quite understand. But I'm sure there's people out there that are like, yeah, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen. Like, everything behind me doesn't exist. It's not loaded in. That is like survivor's bias, basically. Like, similarly, I've noticed there's a lot of people with giant egos that genuinely believe that if they die, the world ends. Like, that the entirety of reality is themselves. Like, it's just them in the world. Everyone else is kind of fake or NPC or whatever they think.
Yeah, it's main character energy.
Main character energy, exactly. Yeah. I've noticed that pretty heavily, and so I wouldn't be surprised if people genuinely believe, like, if my hand's behind me, it doesn't exist, or like, like if I'm not observing something, it's not there.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, my goal is never to destroy anyone's beliefs. The way that I perceive the universe, like my worldview, is I believe in the Big Bang. I believe that it was it was a point, and then that's expanded, hot gases, everything else shooting out, all of matter created in one instant. Like, I believe in that theory until proven otherwise.
Right. Exactly.
And out of that theory, and then out of that theory, I believe in like all the other constructs that come from mainstream science with a fair amount of understanding that other sciences are also true at the same time. So like understanding that there is consistency and that is life. So like that is my mindset, that multiple things can be true at once.
True. People love to just think that there's one path and like very, very locked in, or whatever they're saying is right, and no additive points or supporting pieces are necessary. Like, very nuts. Sorry, continue.
No, you're all good. But yeah, just like I have that idea as well. I have another idea as far as my worldview is I believe there is probably a creator. I don't view that person necessarily as God, God in a religious sense, but I believe that they are probably controlling our world as far as setting the setting. Yeah, like creating the setting for it.
I think the most, it's like Occam's razor, the most likely or most probable outcome is probably what the outcome is. I think there's an equal amount of chance that, there is a God out there, or there's a creator, or there's a dude that ran a computer program.
For sure.
Or a kid had a science project and had a giant chemical reaction. We don't understand microscopic universes. Because we have macro where we are, and then we have micro. There's a bunch of little shit going on down here in each one of these little pegs, or each one of these little threads. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, teeming with life.
Yeah, like quantum physics.
Yeah, the space in between the space.
Mm-hmm.
There is a world going on down there. We can't observe it. So, A, I mean, most people will be like, does it exist? But B, we also have no idea what that might look like. So, my guess is that the universe we live in is something similar to a microscopic one, or a macro in comparison, relatively. Like
just within our own universe.
Bubble. Exactly.
There's something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that is an actual, like,
Very
that is a
plausible.
Cemented belief that I have right now. Like I said,
agree.
I could honestly, like, like, someone could certainly come up to me and they could get me convinced that I'm in the Matrix. And, like, I might believe them based off of the information given.
I mean, if they handed me, like, red or blue, I might not take one, but I definitely believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, yeah. Manny, do you mind if I use your bathroom real quick?
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, guys. Thanks for joining. I got to take a fat fucking piss. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, dude.
Thank God. Okay.
Yeah, man. No, this is all the lols.
Thanks for having me, Manny. Thanks for having me.
Bro, it's your show. What do you do? Like,
your house.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, bro. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. It was nice.